My name is Gregg Haverstick, part of the senior leadership team at RealFoundations, a global professional services firm specializing in real estate. Today, we are privileged to have distinguished speakers from Yavica, Yardi, and MRI who will share their insights and expertise on how AI is revolutionizing the real estate industry. As we delve into this topic, we'll explore the transformative impact of AI in real estate, the significant advancements we've witnessed in recent years, and the challenges faced when integrating AI into their systems. Our panelists will also discuss the crucial aspects of data privacy and security and the measures that they have implemented to build trust with their clients. Looking ahead, we'll gain valuable perspectives on the future of AI in real estate, identifying key trends and innovations to watch out for. Finally, our panel will offer practical advice for real estate professionals and organizations aiming to leverage AI effectively in the coming years. So without further ado, let's have our panelists introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about AI and their respective platforms. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to an engaging and informative session. So we'll start with you, David. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is David Franklin. I am the industry principal for commercial real estate and artificial intelligence at Yardi. I've been with Yardi for about 8 years, and it's been a great journey. And I'm really excited to talk about how things have gone from the history of 40 years of building software, starting on an Apple IIe, all the way through to SaaS provisioning of state-of-the-art systems. I think the most important thing about what Yardi is doing is that we're trying to take everything that we've already built in the single stack solution and bring artificial intelligence to enhance that solution. I know there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement. Everybody wants AI in their products, but you got to do it right. And so the way that we've approached this is to take some baby steps. It's funny because our clients are like, oh, we want this, we want that. And you got to temper those expectations just a little bit and say, you know what, let's take a look at where some of these new tools can most effectively impact your business. And so we focused on 4 key areas. We're doing chatbots, mostly on the multifamily side. So if you think about ChatGPT, I mean, the movie Her is here, right? It is amazing how incredible large language models are at doing that human level communication. So we're doing that with chatbots. It works really well for prospecting. We've got a portal. Somebody wants to know more about living in a particular property. We can answer questions. We're also looking at the AP automation side. So we have our tools for AP automation. We've actually had a product where we outsource to Yardi the AP processing, getting data in. So being able to do that automatically, it's really a good task for a machine learning engine. And in fact, even before the advent of large language models, we've been doing this machine learning based AI, and now we're bringing that out as a product that our end users can use. Maybe the more exciting stuff is related to lease abstraction. So we've built a tool for doing lease abstraction where a large language model can extract meaningful data from highly unstructured data sources. You think about a commercial lease, it's like this crazy thing. Whereas to the first part of the party and second to that, and now therefore wherein, it's gobbledygook. I read a lease and I start crying. But now an AI actually has the power to parse through that data and extract important information. What's the rent? What are some of the key clauses? What kind of options do we have? So we're looking at that. And then lastly, bringing in that chat experience directly into the product. So thinking through having an AI assistant that is not just answering generic questions, but understands how to use our tools and can act as an agent within the system to run reports and get data and then answer questions about that data. So it's a really exciting time. We're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. So I look forward to the discussion.
Great. Thank you, David. Mads?
Yeah, Greg, thank you for having us. My name is Mads. I'm the CEO at Yavica. And what we do is we're an industry partner to Microsoft, specifically for the real estate industry. What we do is we enhance the Microsoft products to work for real estate. Our core is ERP and CRM. So Dynamics 365, ERP and CRM, we basically make that into a real estate specific business solution. I guess the reason we do this is we try to take a slightly different approach to software for the real estate industry by benefiting from everything that Microsoft does. So we can offer a modern, secure, single sign-on ERP and CRM, that natively integrates with everything that you probably know from Microsoft. So it's the Office applications, SharePoint, Teams, Power BI, and of course also AI. So what's been really exciting for us is Microsoft's investments into AI. So Microsoft invested in OpenAI about 2 years ago, and it's really opened the floodgates for AI into the Microsoft stack. It's mainly referred to as Copilot, and we're now seeing Copilot pop up everywhere in standard business scenarios from sort of all industries, and seeing how Microsoft helps democratize AI into just day-to-day work. What we do is we take that one step further for real estate and focus for the specific scenarios that we have. So whether it's a chatbot, whether it's contract abstraction, there's standard tools for that, and then we train that to work with leases, and that's basically our role. I think what we're seeing is there's a lot of fuss, there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of expectations around AI, and it's challenging to navigate for our customers. So it's really exciting we have this webinar today.
Great, thank you, Mads. And finally, Vijay from MRI.
Yeah, Vijay Anand. I'm the VP of AI at MRI. Been here a little over 3 years now, and I want to say relatively new to the real estate industry, but I have extensive experience in software engineering, and more particularly in AI and machine learning from my work at a Big Four prior to that. And what has been exciting for me is I was able to start this journey at MRI when I joined, pre-LLM time to head their AI practice. And the benefit that it has given us as a company and an organization was I was able to set the AI strategy before we were trying to all jump in at the same time, trying to do things with LLMs or whatever generative AI throws at us. So with that as the basis, we established a platform. Again, MRI is known for its open and connected with multiple products and partners all working together with open APIs and so on. So with that understanding, our MRI platform that we established is called MRI Agora. And essentially, it is at a foundation level, allows you to connect multiple data sources. And we are building on top of it a data layer. And then on top of that, a freedom or an experience layer where user interaction is able to happen, leveraging the AI and other data services underneath. So that has been the core strength. We already had a lease abstraction product for about 4 years prior to that, the Agora platform. We also had other machine vision based systems to count people. We call it On Location for footfall analytics. And we had Checkpoint ID, different products that were all, here and there, one-off AI solutions that were there together. What this Agora platform allowed us to do is bring all of those capabilities into our platform so that, if you're looking at any kind of object detection in some application, you can leverage that service through the Agora platform. So we went to a more service-oriented architecture that allowed us to scale these services. And just like David has shared, or even Mads about a Copilot, we are also excited about the new opportunities the generative AI brings to the table, like much faster development, a much quicker way to adopt, whether looking at your unstructured data like leases or your structured data in your ERP systems. There is a way that you could use different patterns to bring that data, and our platform services enables us and our clients to achieve the same, even our partners to kind of leverage and build upon the AI services. So I'm excited for the rest of the conversation here as you lead us.
Great, thanks, guys. So traditionally, real estate has been an industry that has been known to be slow to adopt technology. So, how do you think AI is transforming the real estate industry? In your opinion, what are the most significant advancements you've seen in the past few years? Mads, you want to start?
Yeah, happy to. I think where we've seen the widest adoption initially is probably on what I would say non-real estate specific scenarios. Because we're on a generic platform, there's so much we can sort of easily adopt. And I would almost say everyone is learning a new language, and at some point everybody wants to become AI first in their thinking, but we need to start small. And of course, to start small, it's easy to pick up something that's right there to do. So with Copilot, we've seen adoption of sales and customer service emails, calendar bookings, finance and bank reconciliations, which is just there from the core product. And it's easy to either configure or adopt and basically start saving you some time during the day. Another area we're seeing is where we have vast amounts of data, mainly around customer analytics, customer sentiment. It gives our customers new opportunities to understand what's going on with our customer communication. And whether that's predicting payment patterns from tenants, whether it's predicting notices so we can get out in front of it, we're starting seeing some of those benefits where I guess individuals can just understand and absorb much more data with the help of AI and actually put that data to work with AI. Some of the more, I guess, sort of close to heart, I would say, are around IoT. So we had a senior living client who put in place an AI who could, through video, analyze and understand when residents would fall over at night and not get up and immediately alert someone. So maybe they couldn't reach their panic button. And I just love seeing scenarios like that where it really impacts human lives and just helps us provide better service.
David, what about you? What are some of your thoughts on how do you think AI has been transforming real estate?
It's been really exciting because, frankly, as a technologist, I think about AI very technically. And so for years, we've been doing machine learning. So like our AP solution, for example. But it's not sexy. It's not exciting. You talk to somebody about having a OCR system read an invoice and pull bits of data off of it. Okay, great. Then you start talking to a large language model like ChatGPT, and your head explodes, and all of a sudden, this is now very exciting. So I think we've seen a pattern of under the hood, being able to build models using machine learning for various things, especially a lot of predictive stuff. Our clients are very excited about being able to take, they used to call it big data back in the day, but taking lots of data and starting to produce models that can predict price changes or occupancy or metrics that are important. That being said, it's pretty technical. You typically need data scientists. It's the kind of thing where it's very specialized. What we're seeing now with generative AI and large language models is that we can fundamentally transform the way in which the user experiences data. So as an end user, not a technical person, giving me a chatbot where I can just talk and literally ask the computer for an answer, it's almost like that scene from Star Trek where Scotty is like traveled back in time and they hand him a computer. He says, "Computer," and like it doesn't respond. They hand him the mouse. He's like, "Oh yeah, computer," and still not working. He's, "Oh, how quaint, the keyboard." This is changing because we now have access to tools like a large language model where you can just ask a question. And I think what's ultimately going to happen is the way in which end users interface with software is going to change. And I think that's starting to happen in the baby steps, toe in the water, but we're seeing that. And when we present demos, even of stuff that's not quite there yet, our clients get very excited. Say, "Oh, my executives would love this," because they don't have to learn a tool. They don't have to build custom reports. They don't have to do a lot of training to figure out how to get the right data out of the system. They just ask for the answer. So I think that's the direction that things are going to go, and we're going to see more and more of that automation from a user experience perspective.
And Vijay, finally, let's wrap this question up with you.
Yeah, I think David and Mads summarized it well in the three areas I see the biggest benefit. Is user experience, enhance user experience, and getting insights very easily through, like, not through a dashboard that you have to go click here, do this filter, just ask a question. And that's kind of what we have done with our Agora Insights product. Like, we have Agora Insights where you can just chat and say, tell me, who is my, largest delinquent clients ordered in the last 3 months. And then it gives you the response. And then you say, I just want it in the New York area. And you will be like clicking the dashboard and asking that question. I think the age of dashboard is kind of dead in the sense that you are able to now interact with your data. The next step forward that I see happening is not just asking questions and getting data, but getting that insights. For me, for the system to tell me when I come in the morning, is to say, hey, did you know that these, 9 invoices from these vendors are past due? Do you want me to ping them or send them an email or have a chat with them to find out if they're going to pay? That is the next agentic AI that I'm expecting to happen, that it is moving beyond the passive, I am activating it, to getting that insights directly from the system, that it's going to take me to the next step.
Yeah,
Just
Vijay
like,
sorry, let me just jump in there because you've got a great point. It's like going from being reactive to being proactive, right? Because now you've got
yes,
this AI that's sitting there and it can work 24/7. It doesn't
right,
need coffee, right? It doesn't
right.
need, well, it has the needs, but it doesn't need the same things we do. And it can say, I noticed this thing, let me bring it to your attention. I think that's transformative. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I think, Greg, going back to your, very early comment, like real estate, as I've come from an external, consulting industry, yeah, a lot of things are way behind. But here's where I see the leap happening. Many, third world countries and even developing countries in the past did not have telephone lines, so that nobody had a telephone. But suddenly there was a boom in cell phone, and everybody, they skipped the copper line. They just went to the cell phone. And I'll use India as an example. There's over a billion phones. There's only 1.2 billion people. There's more phones there now, with people having multiple phones. So they skipped the generation, all the trouble of laying lines and so on. I see a similar trend, with real estate and other industries, that we have leapfrogged the software ERP systems and going into this very user friendly interaction system that you don't even realize what's behind it, because there's still a database powering it. There's still complex software that's sitting on top of it. For the end user, they just ask a question and get an answer. So I'm seeing that leap happening in industries that were maybe not as technologically advanced.
Yeah, that's a great point. And for me, it's what I've seen as kind of the significant advancements is the type of conversations people are having and who are having those conversations, where historically this might have been a conversation that's only happening in the technology department. Now you have CEOs, COOs. Once ChatGPT was introduced, they're seeing it in their everyday life, and they're asking their technology team, how are we going to implement AI in our organization? So there's a lot of pressure from leadership on these technology teams on how can we use AI in our organization? How can we help that become a competitive advantage for ourselves? So the type of people having these conversations around AI, I think, has changed quite a bit in the last couple of years. So MRI has been around for over 50 years. So you had a very established product. What are some of the biggest challenges that MRI has faced when integrating AI into your existing platform, and how do you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember. Maybe it was David who alluded to it. Data is everywhere. That is not our issue. It is, good data, consolidated data. That is the core to, building any AI system. So, again, with a large language model, or even any kind of a predictive analytics or machine learning that you build, if you have bad data, your results are going to be bad. So one of the first challenges we tackled was building that semantic model that is aligned to like industry standard like Oscar, and kind of basing off of that. I mean, it doesn't solve for everything, and you have to always expand on these standard models, but that is one of the things that has been the biggest challenge for us is how do I bring in my commercial real estate data from our global solutions that we offer in all the continents, and how do we reconcile what happened, how they balance the books in the UK versus what they do in the US versus each state with all of their rules and nuances. And this is something that we have been able to handle by building a semantic model. The challenge to that data, once we have a standard model, is the cleanliness of the data or the data quality. So those have been the biggest challenges for us, even before we get to building AI models on top of it or asking questions. So we had to tackle that on our Agora platform, and we have been able to do that successfully now. But that was the biggest leap that we had to cross.
And then David, similar to MRI, Yardi has been around for quite some time with an established platform. How did you go about integrating AI into Yardi?
The funny thing is that large language models are non-deterministic. You can ask the same question twice and get two similar answers, but not the same. So when we're thinking about the use cases that we're trying to apply this to, certainly for machine learning, Vijay's got it spot on. You have to have really good, clean, consistent data. It's the only way to do it. And when you're building those models, data cleanliness, hygiene, extraction, all of that is the major challenge. Large language models, not so much. And in fact, you can actually use large language models to help produce data for machine learning models because it has that ability to work with things that are not perfect or not black and white. But I'd say that the challenge that we're facing is as we're bringing these tools to market and we're releasing them into the wild, we have much less control. We don't know what to expect. Doing the typical type of software testing that you would do as you are going through a software development lifecycle, it's very hard to create unit tests that are meaningful with a large language model because you can ask, give it the same input and get two outputs, and that non-determinism is very hard to deal with. There's also, we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, but there's security and privacy concerns around how that data is managed and triaged and where it goes and what partners we're working with. And so I think a lot of the logistics associated with that are challenging. So, at the end of the day, you ultimately want to build something that's useful for your client. And so that's the North Star, but it's challenging when it's a moving target.
So Mads, with Yavica, relatively newer platform, built off of Dynamics, able to leverage Microsoft. How have you been able to integrate some of that Copilot functionality within Yavica, and what are some of the challenges you faced?
So first of all, I think Vijay and David made some very good points, and we've seen some of the same challenges. So I'll maybe sort of go to some other challenges we've seen, and I'll actually start with what we do internally at Yavica, because Yavica is a fairly young company. We set up around 8 years ago. Our solution has a slightly longer history. That's a story for another day. But we were set up as a cloud-first company, so we never had servers in the basement. We always just adopted Microsoft services. So everything we do is in the cloud. Everything we do on ERP and CRM is all the same data model. And certainly, to Vijay's point, that there's challenges in designing a data model that works consistently across multiple geographies. Of course, that's part of what we all do with our business applications. What is a little bit different, I think, with what we do is we're not just looking at data in our business solutions. So our Copilot has access, if we wanted to everything that's on the Microsoft platform. So it's also emails, it's SharePoint documents, it's basically everything that is in our Microsoft tenant, which essentially is all the data we have. So there's very little technical challenge, and the systems were designed well, so we have a good data model. However, to data privacy, and that whole point is now all of a sudden, Copilot has access to whatever data the user set up for. And if you accidentally give a user access to something they shouldn't see, probably they'd never realize. But when they use Copilot, suddenly you can you get access to all of that data all of a sudden. So if you ask a question to your AI user interface, suddenly that'll dip into data that, all data you have access to. So really making sure that we have our user access roles in place is a big part of that. And of course, when we work with our customers who have other solutions that they integrate with, there can be a technical challenge around integration. But assuming there's APIs, then making sure we have that same data quality, and also that we have a way of understanding who the user is, and actually dynamically can alter the user access rights whenever a user suddenly should access something in a different region. How do we make sure that they don't access salary information, for example? So that is, I think, a key consideration as AI evolves, and I think as we start communicating through an AI user interface, we'll have all of these agents that speak to our different applications. So the user will just ask whatever question they want to know, right? And if we don't make sure that there's a stringent policy around access to data, that can very easily open some cans of worms that we wouldn't want to.
Well, let's unpack that a little bit. So one of our clients' primary concerns when we talk about AI is data privacy and security when deploying these AI solutions. So I'm curious to know the measures that have been put in place to help build trust with your clients. Vijay, why don't you kick us off on that one?
Yeah, this is a very passionate topic of mine, only because I played prior roles in building some ethical and responsible AI solutions. So when I, took this position at MRI, one of the first things I said was, before we kind of start building our platform with AI solutions, we need to make sure we have a responsible AI framework. So there is several of these frameworks, variants of it around there. The FANGs have their ones, and other companies, established bodies. Essentially, it goes to 5 basic principles. At least the way I laid it out for us was accountable. So who's accountable for it? The development team, the product team are accountable for anything that you put out. The second thing is fairness and inclusivity. So when you're building any of these models, is it going to be fair in when you ask a tenant, what is their risk of a tenant not paying, or you're taking on a new prospect. You need to be fair and inclusive. You should not be based on gender or zip code where they live or anything like that. The model's trained on a general distribution of the data that you're looking at. So that's one. Transparency. When you get a value from any kind of a model, are you able to trace back linearity of that data, where it came from, or why that decision was made? So you need to have that transparency. The next thing is reliability and safety. Can you, do whatever, read or prompting that you can do to break the system or do something that you don't want it to do? Having that reliability and safety. And last thing is privacy and security. If my client is going to put in some information, is it going to end up in some foundational models training that it's going to show up in another person's data? That is everybody's concern from our client's perspective. But we address all 5 of these points. And again, there's various flavors of this. You can, slice and dice this. At the end of the day, the clients want to make sure when they give an input to the model that they get an output that they can rely on, make decisions, that it's not hallucinating, and their data somehow doesn't end up somewhere in a model or a black market or whatever. So those are our clients' concerns. We address head on to say every product we release goes through this cycle of a framework, and it is signed off before it gets into your hands, customer, and we guarantee that. And again, there's always the risk that we cannot guarantee anything 100%, but we mitigate to the best of our abilities in how we release solutions.
Vijay, just on that topic, when you have users that are going in, leveraging LLMs to get results, are they restricted based on the security that they have within MRI of what data will be accessed?
Absolutely. We definitely have what I call as a object level security and role level security from anything they log into our MRI core PMX system, we kind of follow the same rules that they go and ask a question of our insights platform that it doesn't look anything beyond the data that we give. So whether it is, again, a RAG pattern that we use to restrict to what they have, or the guardrails we put in the responses that come back that we restrict it to. So that is critical, and we make sure and ensure that those filters are in place before they get an answer. We would rather not give them an answer than give them a wrong answer or somebody else's answer.
That's interesting. So David, what about Yardi? How is Yardi approaching data privacy and security with your AI solutions?
Yeah, and it's very similar, and I think we have a nice, I'll call it an advantage, or because all of our data lives in one database, we have a smaller surface area that we have to protect. So it just makes it operationally a little bit easier for us to think about. And the security layers that we've built into the applications are very easy to apply anytime you have an agent going through, because you just say, all right, make sure that as you're going and you're extracting data, that you're basing those queries on the user that initiated that interaction. So it's not terribly difficult, but it's something you do have to be absolutely aware of. And I think one of the challenges that we're seeing too there is that it's non-trivial to pull the right data given the nature of the question that's being asked. So part of our software is first a triage software that goes through and looks at what the end user is asking for and tries to figure out, well, where do I send it? And is it something that I'm running a report internally? Am I going and pulling some data from a different system? Am I trying to just get information from what Vijay mentioned earlier, RAG, which is that retrieval augmented generation, basically a database that we can build of information about how our tools work. So like if somebody asks, how do I do something? We can easily basically let the AI read the manual and then give us an answer. So for those types of things, it's not too bad. Also, there's a lot of infrastructure in place in the world. So we use OpenAI as our partner for the large language model. Right? So essentially, it's ChatGPT. OpenAI provides an enterprise licensing model where we can make sure that any data that we send to them through their API is never used to train the foundational model. So preventing that data leakage. And it's mostly contractual. Right? So this is something where we have to believe that OpenAI is not going to use that data. But that's the best that you can do, given the nature of this stuff. Unless at some point we build our own model, or like we open source, we have Llama and we do a fine tune and we run it off our own data set. That might be a direction. So these are things that are changing very quickly. Right? It's always a moving target, but we can use best practices to ensure that we're not doing something that is going to inherently be risky. So like if you're an end user at a property management company, and you're like, oh, let me try out this ChatGPT thing. And you just set up a ChatGPT account and you download a report, give it the information, say, hey, can you tell me about the data in this report? That data is then potentially going to end up in the public data set. So you do have to be careful. So because we have technical people, right? We're a big company, we've got 10,000 employees. We have people who are very well attuned to the nature of privacy, data loss, and so making sure that we keep our clients' data safe is always paramount. So it's not so hard, but it is something to be critically aware of and to communicate well to the clients so that they can feel confident in using the tools.
And so Mads, with Yavica, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, where if your client is utilizing the entire Microsoft stack, that footprint is considerably larger than perhaps MRI or Yardi has to deal with when it comes to data privacy and security. How is Yavica approaching that?
Well, obviously we follow sort of in the tracks of Microsoft. So Microsoft published their principles and approach for responsible AI. And I was checking the list as Vijay was speaking. It's exactly the same points. There's 6 points instead of 5, but exactly the same essentially. And I think it probably speaks volumes about how the industry is actually coming together around what is responsible AI. And you're right. Copilot can potentially have access to a lot more. which goes exactly to David's point that you need to make sure that as a company that uses AI, you need to be aware of what you're doing, and whether using ChatGPT or other services online, and probably ChatGPT is very well known, and they have enterprise offerings where you can at least agree that that your data is secure. Well, since ChatGPT was probably the foundation for Copilot, it's very much the same with Copilot. So there's when you have an enterprise account, of course, you define what data that Copilot has access to, and it's your data. And that's maybe sort of the next level of information is the learnings from AI and the learnings from the data. And I think that's a very good point from David. So where our clients are doing unique new inventions of how to use AI, you wouldn't want that to just be available to everyone. So that is a very key point. I think another interesting aspect is where you blend public data and your own data. Just making sure that you're not sharing your own data with some public AI service, which I think is just navigating. If you blend different AI services, that you really be careful and make sure that you know what you're doing.
And that's something, Mads, that we work with our clients, and we do a number of projects kind of along that same lines, where I think people are really trying to understand, like, how do we leverage all this data that we've accumulated as an organization to make it a competitive advantage, to allow us to make kind of data-driven decisions. And what we tell them, hey, look, just to start off with, you need to have all your data in one central location. If you have data on file servers, if you have data, on people's laptops, it just makes it incredibly difficult to do. So we often tell people, hey, look, you need to walk before you run, and undertake an initiative to get all your data in one place so you can really activate that data to an advantage of the organization. So it's interesting that all of you have similar concerns about data privacy security. Our clients are thinking about it. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that drives adoption going forward. So as we talk about some of the use cases that have happened over the last 3 or 4 years as AI has been introduced to your platforms within people's property management systems. But what are we talking about going forward? What do you see as the future of AI in real estate? What are some of the key trends and innovations that we should be looking out for? Vijay?
Yeah, I briefly touched on, agentic AI, and I think David also said it well when he said it needs to be proactive versus reactive that we do today. So that is kind of one of the, I don't even want to say, the next 3 years. It's like the next year, this is what you're going to see. That if, somebody is trying to, close their month end, that they have this long list of to do, reconcile my entries and do all the stuff that I need to do, make these journal entries, fix them, take care of anomalies or have an explanation. It's just a mundane task that they have to kind of do, month in and month out, from pretty much all of our clients deal with that and take care of it from our accounting standards. And this is where an agent could potentially go in and kind of do most of these things for you. And you come back on the 25th or whenever that you are about ready to do some pre-close activities. Like, most of it is done for you, and you are reviewing the work that an agent has done for you, including, hey, I noticed an error in this journal entry. I went ahead and fixed it. And you should be able to, at some point, trust it to make that decision and only flag it where you think a human review is needed. So will it get smart over time? Yes. Is it going to be tomorrow? No. So that's where
I see.
Yeah.
Vijay, I see the adoption of that kind of like when people were first asked to enter their credit card information, to a website to book a flight. People were very hesitant, would actually, call up somebody like, I want to tell somebody what my credit card number is. I do not want to enter it into a form. I can see this adoption being similar to that. David, what about you? Like, what do you see as some of the future key trends that we should look out for?
We have to first of all define what the future is, because 10 minutes from now is technically the future. If we think a year or 2 years, those time horizons are actually very difficult to make predictions around, because this is such a rapidly evolving space. With the I'll give you an example. When we first started building our lease abstraction tool, it was about a year and a half ago. The ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, that was like the state of the art. That was the first real model that we had access to that was going to be able to enable this new technology, or this new product. So in there, they have something called the context window. Basically, how much information you can pass it for it to then review and respond against. And the context window is relatively small. Think a few paragraphs of text. That meant that we had to build a parser to take a large contract, or a large lease, and chunk it out into small enough pieces so that we could send it over and get it processed. In the amount of time that it took us to build that intelligence to figure out where something starts and where something ends, the system got upgraded to GPT-4, and the context window got like 100 times bigger. So that whole effort of building out this chunking tool became moot, because now you can just give it. I mean, some of these models have 2 million token input. It's insane. You can feed it the Library of Congress essentially and say, I have a question about the Library of Congress. Oh, no problem. So the technology is getting better exponentially, and exponential change is very, very, very difficult to predict. That being said, a couple of trends. I think Vijay, definitely with this predictive, letting the system automate things that have been mundane, right? That's always something we're seeing. That's a traditional trend, where anytime some technology becomes available to take mundane tasks off somebody's plate, fantastic. I'm going to go a little bit further and say that I predict that ultimately the user interface for these tools will be your voice. You're going to be sitting, you're going to be talking, you're going to be asking this AI. I don't know if we're ever going to have like a Max Headroom, or some actual agent that you're looking at to ask the questions, but you will simply say, I need to know who owes me the most money over at Bakery Square. Right? And the system will say, oh yeah, it's Walgreens. So you should give them a call. Great. Next step, can you please give them a call? Right? So think about multimodality. Right now, we're sort of stuck in this screen, text, maybe some charts and graphs, but ultimately, generative AI is able to talk. It is able to generate imagery. It's able to generate video. Those new tools, those new capabilities will eventually trickle into the way that we experience this. So having a different paradigm for how end users, knowledge workers, the employees at the companies that are using our tools, how they're going to interface with them in the next, say 5 years, is radically going to change. And I think it's very exciting, because there's a democratization there. It makes it a lot easier. And always we're trying to reduce low value work and let people focus on things that only humans can do. And that's getting smaller. AIs are getting better. But just like with the Industrial Revolution, we're making lives better, and we're going to create more jobs, more opportunity than are going to be absorbed in terms of like what the AIs are taking from us. So I'm very excited about it.
That is, I'm excited for that. And that's something that we traditionally have seen organizations leverage RPA, robotic process automation, to do some of those more manual tasks. And it sounds like we'll be seeing some of the ChatGPT co-pilots of the world start taking on some more of those agent type of work. So that's very exciting. Mads, what about you? What is Yavica seeing as some of the key trends that we should look out for with AI in real estate?
Well, I have good news for both Vijay and David, because what they predicted is already reality, and it's not because 2 minutes went by. But
so it's been 2 minutes since David said. So
it's the future now.
It's the future.
Let me elaborate a bit on that. We lean very much on Microsoft, of course, with what we do, and the whole vision of Microsoft is that every company will become an AI first company. What Microsoft does really well, not just on AI, is democratize technology. Make it easy for users to adopt, and of course with AI, it will help us be able to add more value as individuals because we can work with so much more data, we can understand data, and we can actually put AI to work with agents. So we spoke about agents a couple of times, and the way I would describe an agent is essentially it's the arms and legs of AI. So AI is the brain. The brain cannot do anything, but an agent can. So the agent is what will go and close your month end or collect data for you. Some of the predictions from Microsoft is essentially that agents will more or less take over some of the business logic from our ERP system. So in the long run, we will have hundreds or thousands of agents, and we will interact with that through an AI user interface, exactly like you said, David. For Microsoft, that's Copilot, and you can either benefit from agents that exist, or with Copilot Studio, you can build your own agents. And already today, you can go and build agents very easily without any developer experience. You can have it take some data, analyze, create an action, present something to you, and of course, because it's AI, it's also learning. So you build the first version, and then it continues to learn and improve every time you use the agent. Something that I think is really exciting as a sort of view into the future is Project Sophia from Microsoft. And it's a pre-release still, but it's basically a research canvas where you interact with all of your data in the organization, and you just ask a natural question. So, why is David performing so well in sales? And it will go and collect data, look at emails, and give you an answer. And you can have a conversation around all of the data in your organization. So, if you want a peek into the future, go and Google Project Sophia. I think it's a nice outlook for what's coming and how efficient AI will be in the future, and how much it will change our day-to-day interaction with the technology. It'll be like Siri on your iPhone, but with everything that's in your enterprise applications.
So, I mean, clearly these advancements are happening at incredibly rapid pace. Let's wrap this up here, and let's talk to our audience here about what advice would you give to them and organizations looking to leverage AI effectively in the coming years? Vijay?
I think it's the culture of AI amongst the people. Are they embracing this, or are they, fighting back? And as an organization, are you enabling them? One of the things I worked with our, general counsel's office, the legal people are always concerned, like, what is AI going to do? Are we going to, be sued? Are we going to be in trouble because we did this with AI? Are people going to put our clients' data into some system and we're going to be in trouble? There's all these things. One of the things I say is, the companies that enable their employees to use, whether it's Office Copilot or ChatGPT, like the enterprise version, are the ones that'll be the most successful, because they know the value this brings to their everyday jobs. If our developers use GitHub Copilot, because we said, let's open that for them and enable our whole organization of product developers to use it, because it's not like they are going to become lazy coders. They are going to become better, more efficient, more secure coders if they start using these tools. And this will be reflected in your sales organization, in your customers, and what you put out as a product for AI. So embracing a culture that of AI is very important from, I would say, top down, from the leadership level to talk about it, and the adoption from the grassroots level to say, yep, we use it every day in ordering pizza for the office party, or writing code to make it more secure. That will tell. And again, this works for real estate organizations. If you're a property manager and you're taking advantage of some of these AI tools, you're going to be more efficient. Your tenants are going to be more efficient if you take care of their work orders using AI, and it just trickles down. So I would say the culture of AI is where organizations will thrive and survive in the new world.
Vijay, great point. David, what about you? What are some recommendations for organizations on how they can get into the AI game?
Yeah, I'd say let us do the heavy lifting, right? It is so hard to keep on top of all of this. There's thousands of tools out there. There's a changing target at all times, right? This is definitely a moving target. Organizations like Yardi, we have a large number of developers. We have a large number of people who are thinking through this very, very carefully. And we're trying to bring tools to market that are not just AI, but they're AI targeted at a very specific use case that is relevant to the audience today. So I'd say normally you have this build versus buy conversation. You say, oh, well, maybe we could create some competitive advantage by building something ourselves. I think this is one of those cases where if you want to experiment, you want to play around with the tools, see what's out there, absolutely. I think having a culture of being open to using new tools, fantastic. But I will say that we have an economy of scale that is very hard to replicate. And we can build things that are pre-integrated into the tool sets that you already use. And so if you go out and try and do something external and then you've got data integration challenges, we might be able to make that easier. And if you can just be a little bit patient, let us build something, try it out. We're going to be very agile with this new development because we need feedback from clients. We need to understand what the impact of what we're building is in the business. Is it really helping? Is this tool effective? Or maybe it's just a lot of sizzle and there's not enough steak under there, and we got to figure out what's really going to move the needle better. So I'd say leverage your partners. Let us do a lot of that work, but be open to feedback and this continuous improvement because it's a really exciting time. It's a little bit of the Wild West, but I think we're gonna see some big changes happening in the next year or two. So I'm super excited.
Well, let's wrap it up with. Go ahead,
I just
Vijay.
was going to say I echo that. Like, the build versus buy has gone through the enterprises many times at different phases in the technology revolution. This one, I would say, is there's again professionals or economies of scale with companies that I think it's something that you need to rely on your technology partners. Let them focus on what they do. Business partners, you guys focus on the business of running your properties and managing them. So there's definitely a value that comes from that.
And Mads, let's wrap it up with you. What are your thoughts on how we can get started?
Well, I certainly agree that I don't think our clients should go and build everything, but I don't necessarily think it's an either or. I think it can be both one and the other. So certainly there's going to be many scenarios that we all support because they are generic for the industry or even generic for any enterprise. And of course, we will have the capacity to build much more quickly, invest much more, learn from our experience. But I think there's definitely a value to start building that culture around AI and understanding what AI can do for you, because at the end of the day, AI is a consolidation of knowledge that we then sort of asked to think on our behalf. And in every business, there's going to be a lot of value in the brain power of that business. And you'd want to activate that brain power and start thinking about how AI can help, how AI can make life easier for your customers, for your workers. And I think there's definitely a nice world where I see it, where we combine AI from the software vendor with AI that you build. And it's pretty. I think there's many tools in the market now. Of course, we know the Microsoft tools better, but it's not only Microsoft. But with Copilot, there's Copilot Studio where you can build your own AI, and it's essentially like building Legos. You can access your data, you can basically mix and match, and of course it lives very nicely next to all of the AI that's already in the application. So I would. I think for a lot of the people we speak to, AI is still completely new. Maybe there is some grassroots, but as a company, they haven't even gone to awareness and understanding yet on technology adoption. And I would actually promote that you find some early adopters, some champions, and have them go play around with AI because it is like a new language we have to learn. And you need to create some excitement in your organization That's also what we've done internally. Have not only developers, but have everyone use Copilot, and whether it's just playing around with an Excel and Copilot and have it build a little model for you, or whether it's generating documents, you definitely get an awareness of what AI can do and what it cannot do, and it helps I think us as well as software vendors. The more educated our customers are, the better feedback they will provide, the more they will ask for the right scenarios from us, and it's just plain old good fun.
Yeah, it's something where within our organization, we have done some small pilots of Copilot, and we're just figuring out like what's the best way to utilize this thing. How can we make our lives more productive? How can we be more efficient? And I think a lot of organizations, when you get into that mindset, get creative. It's exciting, and I think just based on this conversation, I think we all realize that this is an exciting time to be in technology. It's an exciting time to be in real estate, and seeing if like Vijay said earlier, maybe real estate can take that leap. We can skip the landline and go straight to mobile. So I want to thank all you gentlemen for this conversation. This has been really enlightening. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and just want to thank you for your time.
Absolutely, this has been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the
very much.
opportunity.